missing someone.
Hey, this is Bond Diesel, and I'm bringing you a video about the Division 2 and Hunters and how I think they are going to be integrated into this sequel. In the Division 1, we were introduced to them in the Survival DLC. They were the final end boss in most ways, and presented quite the challenge when we first faced them. Most people have figured out ways around it, but if you go in with all blue gear, they can still be quite tough if you don't cheese it across the street and snipe them. The Hunters have had quite the allure ever since they were first introduced. Even just the pictures of them, they're these ninja-like hulking beasts with ballistic masks and all kinds of technology and armor on them that looks familiar but is different than us. The recent Sherpa conversation with Lieutenant Buzz Lightyear and Splinter Shield finally encouraged me to do this video I'd been planning for a while. I promise I can prove it somehow. I can do it if needed. But a lot of their ideas and thoughts on what the Hunters are and who they are, and that's all covered. And I feel like most of us have our opinions on that. I definitely know that my opinions mirror Splinter Shield's quite a bit, with maybe little tiny differences. But in the Division 1, the Hunters were these individuals. Eventually they were small groups in the underground, which I actually think is a pretty good implementation of them. I think that they're actually fairly fun to fight there. They've been maybe, in some people's opinions, a little bastardized by being thrown into the legendaries the way they have been. They're just bullet sponges to the extreme, and I would have almost rather have seen some other type of LMB enemy be put in that place, but maybe even with the same AI or something. I don't know. But that's Division 1. Division 2. What are the Hunters in Division 2 gonna look like? So first, I think there's a question of like, what would their purpose be in Division 2? Could they just be a similar thing where in some instance mode or some certain situation we face off with them again? Will they do the same thing they did in Division 1? I don't know. I hope not, if you want me to be totally honest. But maybe they could. I'm not expecting a lot to be the same in Division 2 as there was 1 when it comes to gameplay, when it comes to story, when it comes to anything. Even the one faction we've seen so far, the True Sons, if they're the base faction, like I actually think they are, I think they're essentially replacing the Rioters, then I suspect they're stepping up to the plate when it comes to giving us interesting enemies to fight. So, will they still be the end game enemy? Possibly. We know that supposedly, we're going to have raids and stuff like that. The Hunters could be involved in that. But I think we may find out more this time. Who the Hunters are, why they exist, and who do they answer to. And that kind of leads into my next point about, are they going to be a new faction potentially? I don't think that's going to be the case. I suspect that they will still be some kind of third party, not the good guys or the bad guys. I still suspect they'll be outside of the typical factions. But I could be wrong. We know from the trailer and some information that there's a rogue, quote unquote, piece of the leadership that's left of the country. Maybe the Hunters served a purpose, kind of like what Splinter Shield and I have talked about, and how maybe they were just meant to be a control for agents in case power went to their head and they went too far. But the people in charge of them are maybe part of this rogue faction in the government. Maybe they're something else entirely. People theorize that they're LMB, that they're foreign, all that. I don't think they are. I think that they were an element within the same as the Shade agents were, but just meant to be there as a safeguard. And things maybe have gone awry, or maybe they're doing exactly what they were intended to do. But in Division 2, I think that we're going to see them more involved. I think we're going to get more information about them. And the one thing I actually would love to see is to see some classes of the Hunters. In the Division 1, I believe there's 4 different types of Hunters you can fight. But they're really just different loadouts of the same beast. They look a little different, but for the most part, I believe there's a sniper one, there's one that's more electronics based, And then there's more of a regular fighter. So the 5 classes I would actually like to see is some kind of big heavy hunter. When we initially saw the pictures of the hunters, I think I imagined these huge hulking beasts. I thought these guys were going to be like 6'5", just these massive monstrous enemies. They aren't small. If you ever get close enough to one, especially after you've been axed, they're, I assume, the same size as the agents. But they aren't what I thought, and I would really like to see some LMB shield sized hunter. And they can have all kinds of technology. I know people hate it, but with an enemy that big and that advanced, some light exosuit type of treatment so that they can still be mobile even though they're big. Maybe they have some type of really advanced shield. Maybe they have some type of kind of tank ability, like the ones that we have now in the legendaries, but purposeful. I'd really like to see something like that. I'd like to see kind of like a medium or like more of like an assault style hunter that would essentially be what we've currently fought, maybe a little more advanced. This is months later. If they have backing of some kind of some kind of tech development and stuff the way that we do, their technology in Division 1 is arguably better than ours because of how they can take ours down. So have they come up with this themselves? Is whoever they're answering to giving them better tech, improving their tech? But the medium type of hunter I'd like to see be similar to what we currently have. I'd like to see some kind of like electronics or tech based hunter that has their skills are really, really good. They can do things maybe that we can't do, or they can shut our things down, kind of like they can to a point now, or how the LMB first wave agents can. Some kind of sniper hunter would be really cool. We have that right now with the one that has the SVD. You can always hear that very distinctive ka-chunk of the SVD going off, and you know that if that dude lands a few shots on you, you're dead. Especially in survival, they are very deadly. And but maybe even when that fight's from a little further away. During the Sherpa Company talk, they talked about how you can get in relatively distance firefights with them, but they definitely prefer to get up close and personal. The last type of hunter I would actually like to see is some kind of like stealth hunter. And I know everyone cringes sometimes when you hear this, but some kind of masking technology or something like that. There's a lot of things in this game that remind me a lot of Ghost Recon Future Soldier, and I would like to see some kind of similar technology implemented in this one class of hunter. It looks cool. It has downsides, maybe all these things are going to have some kind of downside, weak points, things like that. We could fight them in groups. Maybe they'd be together the way that we fight them in the underground. Maybe it would just depend. We get them randomly. We don't even know if they're in the game. We don't know when we're going to see them. We don't know how they're going to be used. We don't know, like I said, if they're going to be a faction, if they're going to be separate. But it's fun to think about. It's fun to speculate about. I'll link to the Sherpa Company little vodcast they did, so you can hear all those thoughts as well. Maybe listen to this too. Tell me what you think about it. What do you want the hunters to be? Do you think my ideas are decent? Do you think they're stupid? Tell me either way. I am curious. If you want to find me, I'm on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube as Bond Diesel. I'm on Instagram as BondDiesel_Twitch. Make sure to check all those places. I'm doing a giveaway right now for a Division 2 merch item. Check me out over at the Division 2 Hub if you want to get all your Division 2 information, updates, speculation, all that. And that's all I have for you today. I was Bond Diesel, and until next time.